Thank you. Wow, what a crowd. What a crowd, and it's great to be here. I've been to the other two meatballs, so thank you for having me at this one. We're real excited. We're here. We got some great speakers and really here to discuss parents' rights, particularly with regards to the upcoming school year. If you have been listening to some of the murmurs going around, particularly in Washington lately, if you listen to some of the stuff that's being percolated around the CDC, there's a movement to try to impose more restrictions on the American people. And I just want to say in Florida, there will be no lockdowns. There will be no school closures. There will be no restrictions and no mandates in the state of Florida. Floridians have been, are, and will remain free to choose what's best for themselves and their families, and we will protect their right to work, we'll protect the right of businesses to operate, and we will protect the right of our kids to attend school in person. And we don't have mandates, we won't. The one issue where we are seeing a potential for mandate regarding local government is with the forced masking of school children in our upcoming school year. And as of today, very few school districts are requiring that. Most of them, I think, wisely are saying this is a parent's decision to make about what's best for their individual kids. But nevertheless, we have a lot of push from the CDC and others to make every single person, kids, staff, have to wear masks all day, regardless of their immune status, regardless of the effect it has on their educational experience. And that would be a huge mistake. If you look back, we were the only large state in the country last year to have an in-person school year for the whole school year. There were many that had massive amounts of their students didn't have access to in-person education. We thought it was very important. We looked at the data. We understood that schools were low-risk environments and that closing them was devastating to parents and families, and it was something that we could not allow to happen in the state of Florida. So we needed to stand up for our students, we needed to stand up for our parents, and we did. Now, Florida has never mandated masks for the public or for schools. Last school year, though, a majority of school districts required the students to wear masks. Other school districts, I think between 20 and 25, did not, and many charter and private schools did not require masks. And so what were the results? Well, a study out of Brown University looked at case rates in schools in Florida, Massachusetts, and New York. And they found, and this is a very credible study, no correlation of case rates and mask mandates. In other words, you had schools that did not have mandates that had similar outcomes as the ones that did require it. And if you think about it, these kids are in school, they have the masks on. When they go out of school and hang out, do you think they're wearing the mask when they're at each other's home? Of course not. So it's terribly uncomfortable, and it's something that a lot of parents have been frustrated about. A lot of students have been frustrated about. I mean, I remember I've had kids come up to me saying like, oh, I don't want to wear the mask going forward. But we can say in Florida, the 2020-2021 school year, that the districts that did not require masks did not perform statistically different from those who did. The charter schools and the private schools that didn't require it also had similar outcomes. And so we have to look at the data. Even if the data said something else, that doesn't mean you mandate, because there's still individual well-being and freedom at stake and all that. But we clearly know based off last year that those mask mandates in schools had virtually no impact on the overall shape of the viral curves that happen on a seasonal basis. And so CDC's position is every single student, every single staff member, every single teacher must be masked at all time. And that is even though CDC's own estimate in March was that 41% of K through 12 students had already recovered from COVID. And so it's likely very more. And if you look at the seasonal wave we're experiencing in Florida, that's being driven a lot by a lot of younger people. They're not getting really sick from it or anything, but they are getting it, and they will develop immunity as a result of those infections. And so they don't count that. They don't count vaccinate. I mean, if the teachers, they still say you have to do it. I don't know what message that sends. I mean, they've tried to encourage people to get vaccinated, but if you still have to suffer under the mask, then what message does that send to people to want to do it? So it's very, very puzzling. But one of the things that's frustrating is there's no end in sight to what these policies will do. There's no off-ramp. We were told that the off-ramp was vaccination. Now we're told that that's not going to be the case, and yet you're going to have to do masking. You may have to do restrictions and potentially other severe forms of mitigation, which we know will have a devastating impact on so many people's lives and livelihoods and freedoms. So CDC's policies, by doing this so ham-handedly, by not looking at things like this Brown study, it really shows a callous disregard for the physical, emotional, and academic well-being of our children. They need to be put first. We had this whole year and a half where so many people in our society wanted to put the kids last. They wanted to impose most of the most extreme mitigation on the kids that were the least likely to face any negative harm from this, and obviously who were in very developmental stages where this could really do a lot of potential damage. The forced masking, it has harmed students. We're going to hear from parents and students who've had a lot of difficulty with this. And so the question is, shouldn't this be something that the parent isn't best to evaluate the effect that this would have on their children? Why would we have government force masks on our kids when many of these kids are already immune through prior infection? They're at virtually zero risk of significant illness. And when virtually every school personnel, they've had access to vaccines for months and months. Remember last year, the unions were saying you can't have school open because there's no vaccines. Well, now that you've had that, it's been available for months and months, then the kids still have to wear the mask. It doesn't make sense. And so what we're doing here today is we're going to hear some of the stories about what this has meant over the last year. And what I want to empower parents to be able to make the best decisions they can for the well-being of their children. Now, as I mentioned, virtually every school district in Florida at this point has said that they are going to do optional and let the decision reside where it belongs with the parents, and we encourage them. We're happy with that. Last year, we let them make these policies because, quite frankly, I just wanted the kids in school. We needed to get them in. I didn't think the masks were going to be effective for K through 12, but you know what? I was like, you guys have a tough job. There was a lot of people that didn't want the kids in school, all that, and I knew it would be good because I saw the data from other parts of the world, and it was. But now we're in a situation where we really do need to make sure that the parents' rights are protected, and those parents have to come first. Now, last month, I signed HB 241, the Parents' Bill of Rights. The bill prevents any government institution from infringing on the fundamental rights of a parent to direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of a child. And I think that this decision about whether parents want their kids to have to wear masks all day in school, I think that's a decision that falls squarely within the contours of this Parents' Bill of Rights that I signed. And so And so accordingly, very soon I'll be signing an executive order which directs the Florida Department of Education and Department of Health to issue emergency rules protecting the rights of parents to make this decision about wearing masks for their children. We think that that's the most fair way to do it. You know, I have young kids. My wife and I are not going to do the mask with the kids. We never have. I want to see my kids smiling. I want them having fun. And I don't know, I mean, look, my kids are a little younger, but I can tell you, whatever you think of masks, you got to wear it properly. My kids ain't going to wear that thing properly. We know that. So we don't want to, so we don't want to, I wouldn't want to do that. But at the same time, look, if a parent really feels that this is something that's important for their kid, we're not stopping that. They absolutely have every right to equip their student with whatever types of masks that they want and have them go to school if they believe that that's a protection that's important for their children. I think that's the fairest way to do it, to let the parents have the decision. It would not be fair if we told parents who wanted the kids to wear masks they weren't allowed to do it. But it's certainly not fair to force parents who don't believe the masks are good for their kids to force them to have to send their kids a mask. So this way, parents are able to make the decision that's best for their families. And I think that that's the fairest way to do it. And I also think that that's really most consistent with the data that we have seen over the last school year and the fact that these mandates have not proven to really make a big difference. And